Good morning, Superkickin with Stephen fans. It's happy New Year's Eve. There we go. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve. So for all those of you celebrating that tomorrow in the new year, enjoy that. Party safely, party hard, and all that good stuff. But we are here. Greg is on his way. We'll bring him on as soon as we get him in here. Today we're going to recap WWE and NXT. So we'll kind of give our best of who is the most Ucey of 2022 regarding WWE and NXT. What a year for both brands. Underwent huge changes. We'll get into it with Greg, but of course the big story was Vince McMahon resigning all control, stepping away. There are still people who said he has some influence, but whatever. But it is, that was, I believe, in the summer because Triple H's first official pay per view would have been the Clash at the Castle. SummerSlam had his fingerprints on it as well. And now we're heading to WrestleMania season, and I just keep saying it'll be interesting to see how Triple H's view of WrestleMania and what that's all about will be any different than Vince McMahon's. So, also we saw NXT. They went to 2.0 and tried to reconfigure things. Triple H gets in power, throws Shawn Michaels down there, and now they're kind of cycling back to the black and gold brand, or have cycled back. So, big changes. Let's bring on the Greg, whose Chargers just killed my Colts, which good news for both ends. You guys clinched a playoff spot, and we went up a spot in the draft order. So yay for us. But just another exciting tale in the cold season, Greg. But happy for you guys. Get a good win
Hey,
on Monday night.
I know. I was worried it's a trap game
Yeah.
and can't be slipping, but I knew after all the Saturday, and Sunday games were done, and they knew all you have to do is win and get your ticket punched to the show that they weren't going to come out flat, even though the first quarter they were, I think, a little too hype, a little too tight. But they figured out, got it right, got the win. We're in the playoffs officially, and news keeps getting better. Joey Bosa is going to be back
Good.
before the playoffs begin. He's probably going to play this weekend just to get some reps and
Good. Yeah.
make sure the groin is good. So I'm super excited. My Chargers are in. Way too long, but hey, we're here now. It's time to make some waves. They're going to be that team that you don't want to play in the playoffs, and everybody coming back and getting healthy, and we're getting right at the end of the
We're all
season,
at
which
the right
is
time. Yep.
yeah. So,
And my
um,
Colts are just rolling. That's it. That's all we got.
hey, you got to start somewhere. It's time for the rebuild. Get
This is
draft picks, get
yeah.
some new
I don't.
dogs in there.
Well,
It's
that's the
going to
thing
take a
too.
minute, but
Like we got the offensive line signed for the next 3 or 4 years, so that's going to be hard to. And it's the highest paid offensive line, which is the craziest stat because they have regressed so much.
I
And
know that was
maybe it's been happening and we just didn't see it. But yeah, and then you got Darius Leonard who's due an extension, I believe, or just re-signed. You have some important pieces in the defense. DeForest Buckner, a big signing there. So yeah, I think it's got to start the quarterback. I
oh
mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I've joked, just give it a couple years, we'll go after Arch Manning. We'll get the grandson of Archie Manning, and then we'll get Reggie Wayne has a kid in the college football ranks. T.Y. Hilton's got a kid in the high school ranks, Greg. So we'll just recreate. And even Edgerrin James has a kid, a running back somewhere. So we'll just get all the former Colts players because that's what Ursay probably would rather do anyway. But, that's a whole nother ball of wax, as it were. So,
That's funny. I
uh,
hung out with Reggie Wayne's mom at the NFL draft.
okay.
So
And
cool
yeah,
lady, funny lady.
I'm pretty sure I don't know where his son plays, but I'm pretty sure he's in college somewhere. So, um, and then Reggie Wayne is the um, wide receivers coach. So there you go. But yeah, I joked. I'm like, just go for Arch Manning. Just give it a couple years. We'll just wait for Arch Manning, and everything will be a okay, maybe. But So, but yeah, like I said, it's got to start. Well, probably need to start the head coach to figure that out. But I
Yeah,
think
kind of all the wheels fell off for you guys with Jonathan Taylor getting hurt for the year and
that, yeah,
the quarterback situation, and I don't
and
know
even
that
Darius
Ohio State
Leonard was
offensive
hurt.
line.
Darius Leonard
Yeah,
was hurt most of the season, so hopefully, and even mentally, I think it wore on him, which is scary because that's kind of what did Andrew Luck in, I think. So
yeah,
hopefully that's not this way because yeah, to lose somebody like Darius Leonard, who's definitely a difference maker on defense, could really be something. So, and then your sons, Chris Paul's out for some time, right? Did I see that? A little bit of
uh,
time.
and see if he has a new injury. I know he just came back from
Oh, he
one.
just came back. Okay,
Yeah, he's just starting to get his
legs back.
get in the game shape. He had a couple
Okay,
games where he put up some really big points, and
yeah.
I think he's just getting the ball rolling. But as he comes in, Devin Booker goes out because
But
he's got an injury.
that's who
So
got hurt. Sorry, he's about a month or so, right?
right, so
Okay, that's who I was thinking. I'm sorry.
those nasty groin injuries, man. I mean, holy crap! He came back for 2 minutes during the Memphis game and injured it
Pulling
again,
it
and
right
he
back.
was gone. So yeah, so he's going to end up.
How's how's Aiton looking? I've heard mixed reviews on him too.
Aiton's looking good. He's stepped up
Okay,
since Book had to go out,
okay.
and he's putting some points up. He's getting boards, doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And every now and then he has those games going where you look at it and go, "Why'd you take
Where's
so
you
long
at?
to give him his money?" And then he has
Oh,
a game where he goes, "Oh, that's why you didn't give him his money,"
and
until the last minute.
that's how Miles Turner's been most of his career here. But now Miles Turner consistent, 15 and 10 every night. Last night gets 6 blocks, a season high. I mean, so hopefully, the and Miles Turner and Buddy Heel are the top, trade offers, Greg. But the more I've looked at this season, I'm thinking we might have to keep them around. I don't know if you want to I don't think we necessarily need to get younger draft picks out of it in the next few years if this is clicking. And, maybe being a little bit ahead of schedule, almost like your Suns a few years back.
Yeah,
Did they give the Warriors a run there, like in the first round, 4 or 5 years ago or something? They were like the
yeah,
eighth seed, and the Warriors were the first seed.
and they
Now,
almost beat
granted,
him.
and it took getting Chris Paul, I think, to help them get a little further. But that might have been the season before you guys got Chris Paul. But it makes me think of that a little bit. So because right now we're sitting in the sixth seed, and who would have, you know, 19 wins and the over under I think was 25 or 30 at the most. So we might hit that, right after the All Star break.
Yeah,
I think things are rolling here. So at least in Indianapolis, Greg, one team is on the upside. Be nice to have both, just because there's always a different vibe in your city when everything is rolling right.
yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the year that was. How about we start in just an overview of NXT, and then we'll start handing out some hardware, Greg. But I brought on that we started NXT 2.0, and now we're right back to NXT. Um, where are we at with the direction right now and how it's looking going into 2023? I'm calling it the Jordan year because of 23. So if anyone steals that, give me all the credit. But how's it looking, Greg? What are we thinking about the direction it's going? I think it's moving the right direction. And how about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And this is where I need some timeline uh, correction because I believe that the whole 2.0 thing started in 21 and not 22. Is that correct?
Did it start in 22, 21, maybe the end of it?
End of it? Okay, yeah.
Close
So,
enough. I mean, the majority of the year was
yeah, absolutely.
2.0.
Um, but I think it's definitely going in the right direction now. The whole 2.0 experiment makeover was horrible just because you rolled all these guys and girls out with no story behind it. And here's episode 1 of 2.0, and you have 30 new talents that we haven't seen before
Mhm.
popping up on the screen. Okay, go like these guys.
Yeah.
and you can't do that without context. We haven't seen these people before. Um, where they're in the performance center, they're getting the WWE way, you know, beaten into them, and they're expected to, pick up the slack from the black and gold and be just fine. And that's the Vince McMahon way of thinking, and it was bad. Um, so you
Like you said,
figure
they
when
threw a lot of stuff at once.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was just
and
too
it's
much.
a gradual rollout, of a couple new guys each week, couple new girls each week would have been a lot easier to digest instead of a whole program and everybody we saw we've never seen before. Um, so we didn't dig it. It took a long time to make it to where it was a watchable program. And that when Triple H came into power, that he was looking at it and he's like, okay, I'm tearing all this down and making it back the way it was. Um, and we saw it with just the logo. You immediately start putting the black and gold back in, uh, amidst all the spray paint and the neon colors. And now all the neon is gone, and we got the black and gold. And it's the smart thing to do. If we can put some veterans down there, because you need that credibility, that street credibility, that you beating those veterans, you can hang with those veterans to lift up these new people that we haven't seen before, and bring in guys down like Apollo, like the New Day. That's only going to make the product better. And mixing in these people from the main roster that really aren't doing anything, that can get you know great love from down on the NXT side, and some of them are NXT alumni, can do wonders for you. Look what it did for Finn Balor when he went down.
Mhm.
You know, he got his mojo back, came
Rejuvenated.
back up, and now he's been killing it. Um, so he's doing the right thing, and the show is a lot more watchable. It's a lot easier to follow, and instead of just having a bunch of new people playing stock characters, which has been a huge complaint of mine about NXT all last year. All these guys just playing these generic characters and not a character that's true to themselves. And when they play that version of themselves, then it resonates, and it looks so much different and so much better compared to uh, now at the end of the year than it did at the beginning of the year. So it's definitely going the right path, and I think it's only going to get better.
Mhm. And I think also we can't overstate having William Regal probably there as a voice, and backstage. Um, I still didn't realize or remember or even see Greg that Charlie Dempsey is his real life son. So we'll probably see some sort of mixture there whenever
Hmm.
William Regal can appear on TV. So um, I think that's stated. That should be real because that's Triple H and William Regal worked hand in hand, Greg, to get NXT globally
Right.
where it was, not just out of the warehouse of Central Florida or South Florida. I mean, London takeover,
Yep.
and whatnot. So I guess it was just the London takeover. I can't remember if there was nothing, but maybe it went up to Canada. But yeah, so I wonder if Triple H, wants to maybe get back in that London market and get a takeover there, especially if AEW is going back to London. Well, not going back, actually debuting in London, I believe, early next year. So, especially with the pay per views of WWE, maybe doing internationally mixed in with at home domestically. So, and then like you said, just characters that are playing not so out, so cartoonish. You
Hmm.
know, there's still a lot of characters down there, but you
Oh yeah.
understand them. So, and then how about the other side of things? The main roster, WWE. Who would have ever thought in our lifetime, Greg, we'd see Vince McMahon resigning. That's still the craziest day ever. I mean, my Twitter was not. I felt like I had to keep refreshing every few minutes just to see new voices coming out about it. Uh, I think
Hmm.
the allegations are all done. He paid out the money. It happened.
So I guess there's really not allegations anymore, but Triple H fully in control. And I think, Greg, this is going to be the time from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania to really see where Triple H's vision of WrestleMania is versus where Vince's was. Do we see a lot of part timers?
Mhm.
There's still people throwing out Stone Cold Steve Austin might wrestle, which I'll get into our predictions part, and John Cena. But other than that, there's not. Does he does he roll out the cart for Taker? I hope not. I think Triple H is smart enough to realize you don't need to go that. Now's the time to focus on up and coming people and who you
Mhm.
have now.
And if you need to use, John Cena is going to be on speed dial no matter what. The Rock's going to be on speed dial no matter what. But even that, Greg, probably the next couple years, is that even going to be an is that an idea? So I really am interested to see what kind of influx of NXT talent we get and main roster guys. So, but it's moving the right direction. I think we haven't heard much about Stephanie McMahon, which is probably good. As I always say,
Yeah.
Greg, no news is good news. So that must mean she's, doing her job with Nick Khan. They're, putting the wheels together, and whatever they're doing backstage is working because we don't hear about it. You know, some the pipe finally stopped leaking out. It looks like so maybe there was something there, but uh, makes me wonder if John Laurinaitis was a squeaky wheel, as they say, Craig, because he's not there anymore, and of course it seemed like leaks came out when he was there. But so the direction of the main roster, I mean, is on a big upswing. I think. Then WrestleMania season is going
Mhm.
to be really interesting and important, I think, to the overall, charge of Triple H. Just like the first WrestleMania was so important to Vince McMahon and where that could go, I think this WrestleMania is important to Triple H to get it right. Because if he fails,
Mhm.
what is everybody going to say? Oh, he can't do it. He needs to do this. So, but if it succeeds, he gets all the flowers, as your phrase, to steal your phrase. He'll get all the flowers. So this is
Yeah.
kind of big season for him. So give me your own take on all those ideas, Greg, as well.
Yeah, I totally agree that this is the time for Triple H to shine. Um, and the Vince news, I was like you, that was the biggest shocker of the year for sure. Because you're first going, okay, is this real? And then you got places like the Wall Street Journal reporting on it,
Yeah,
the highest of reputable sources coming out with this news, and like, okay, this is legit. Okay,
heck, they're the ones that blew it up.
right. And it took you know tea being spilt on Vince McMahon for him to lead power, but hey, what's meant to be is meant to be, and he's got enough skeletons in the closet, and some of them are finally spilling out. And you never wish bad on anybody, but um, in this case, it's for the betterment of his own company that he step away. And Triple H taking over is the best thing that could possibly happen for WWE,
Mhm.
from the sense that he has been in the mix for over 20 years. I think he just had his 25-year anniversary with the company. So he's been there. He's done that. He's seen how the operation works from the inside. It's not like um, picking, you know, a coach from outside the organization who's going to come and mess with everything and doesn't really know what he's doing, or um, say like the guy who owns Walmart buying the Denver Broncos and you know having fun doing the things his way and playing fantasy. Um, this is having like the best candidate possible, take over, and it's the who all the people want it.
Mhm.
Who's If we were to choose who's going to take over once Triple H is gone, we would have picked Triple H hands down. And we've seen what's happened. He's corrected a lot of wrongs. First by fixing NXT. It's still not there yet, but it's absolutely on the way to going back to what it was. Um, the people who were fired, released, that shouldn't have been. they're back and they're still coming back, and they're only going to make the product stronger. He recognizes the youth movement is important, and he's bringing back those younger talents to fill in the holes. And so I love what he's doing. The program is so much different and so much better compared to what Vince was doing, and it's continually on the upswing. And this is going to be like the completion of that first season, to use your term, by going through WrestleMania. Even though he took power in August,
Yeah.
this is going to be this is going to be the capstone right here for that first year of how WrestleMania season goes, with the Rumble, with all the events that lead up to WrestleMania. Yeah. And you figure, he is in the peer group with that group of Austin and Rock and John Cena. He's been through the wars with all those guys, with Taker. He's got that link with all those guys. So it's that familiarity, it's that camaraderie, being the boys in the locker room together, and not the king on high, like Vince kind of looking down on everybody. He's on the level with everybody else, understands the business from a today standpoint, compared to Vince looking at it from the old days standpoint. And, just kind of throwing monkey wrenches in works here and there. And Triple H is more of his finger on the pulse of what's going on right now. Look at what he did with the QR code, how that exploded every time you saw it. He knows what he's doing, and we can have the complete confidence in that. And every time we watch Raw, it's just an example of that. Raw and SmackDown, for that matter, because he's doing great things on both brands. And even with his, heart issues, things like that, he must be delegating authority pretty well. We haven't heard anything else about his health. So hopefully that
you almost
stays.
wonder if it's reinvigorated him too. Like, give him a new sense. And you look at, 3/4 of the roster has already worked for him under NXT, so they know what they're getting. Exactly. Vince McMahon, he's eccentric. There were times that people would go in and hop down ideas, Greg, and there are other times they got the door slammed in their face. I think Triple H probably has an open door, for the most part. But I think people know what they're getting with him as well. Now, also, I will say in Vince's defense, he respects the hell out of all those Taker, Cena. So that's why I think he kept going the well for them, Greg.
Sure.
But you also got to think how many times can you go that well? So, But I think the Royal Rumble's even interesting because we're hearing, do you get a forbidden name or two? Maybe the women's side and the men's side. We had Mickie James last year, coming out with the Impact Women's Wrestling belt. Like, who would have ever been? Now, granted, that was on Vince's watch, so who knows if Triple H, can do some finagling behind the scenes to get some forbidden name, in the Royal Rumble this year. But should we hand out some hardware?
Absolutely, let's do it.
I think we'll do a quick commercial break because last time I felt bad putting all the commercial breaks at once. But we've talked for plenty, and then we'll get right into our hardware so people could sit back, get a quick drink, go get a quick breath of fresh air, and come right back to get our award started. All righty, let's get right into it. Welcome to another Stevie Awards edition. We kind of talked about it already, Greg, but what do you think WWE needs to do to improve the main roster side of things? What is your tool time award or improvement, in the words of Tim Allen and Tim Taylor?
Well, I think one thing they need to do is break up damage control.
Mhm.
Um, we get the purpose of it. Bailey
Has it
coming
worked?
back. No,
Mm.
and it's to come back and introduce a couple new talents is an interesting way to introduce a couple new talents with Dakota and EO on the main roster, and they've served their purpose. We know who they are now, and they've had the rivalry going on with Bianca, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss for the most part,
Yeah.
and it introduced them, reintroduced them, and it's run its course. And now the three of them come out is kind of pointless. I mean, they're not a killer faction. Um, EO and Dakota are just kind of the side pieces for Bailey, and all three of them are going to be much better on their own.
Mhm.
Especially EO, who is so amazing, um, just by herself. Let her have her own mystique aside
Yeah.
from damage control. Let her have that back, same she had in NXT, and she's going to gather a whole new fan base. Same thing for Dakota Kai in a different way. And then Bailey is best as a one-on-one performer. You saw what she was doing with Bianca before she got injured, and the shenanigans she pulled just by herself, or glued to the screen watching what she was doing because she's awesome. Uh, so having those three together, it's run its course. Let them split off and do their own thing. So that's my first thing.
Mhm.
Um, Next thing is to divide the world championships. And
Yep.
it's been a nice experiment to unify the belts, for the sake of, that big thing to pull you into WrestleMania last year, the belt unification, um, and all that. But it hasn't played out the way it should with, a line of contenders on the Raw side, the SmackDown side, and Roman just goes back and forth and has all these killer matches with both sides of the roster. It hasn't played out that way. Roman's becoming more part time, as part time as Brock Lesnar is these days.
Yeah.
So we want to avoid that, and the best thing to do is going to be to find a way to divide those world championships and have a Raw champion and a SmackDown champion again. So and Raw has lost some of its flavor because it has no world champion. Um, I get them trying to push the U.S. title as the title and have that guy be kind of the face of Raw, but it hasn't done it. The face of Raw right now is Seth Rollins, and he doesn't have a title, so it's not a matter of who the face is, but we need that championship to pull people in and have that King of the Mountain on Raw, because without the World Championship, there is no King of the Mountain. So Roman's not doing double duty enough to make it to make up for that. So that's the other big thing I think they can do to improve what's going on. And with WrestleMania right around the corner, that's the best way to do that, to separate those championships. And whether it's having Roman do double duty or have him lose before WrestleMania, and the titles get split somehow. If I trust anybody to figure out how to do that, I trust Triple H to figure out how to do that. That's another hole that Vince dug, and that he's going to have to correct. So I have complete faith that he'll do that, and once we get the championship separated, it's going to make both products better.
Or I'll go the opposite. If you are going to do one champion, then give him one belt, and let him be that whatever new title you want to give to that title, that name. So
Yeah,
if we're going to make one champion, and like you said though, and with Roman's case,
it's the attraction part, and that's what's weird. Like, I don't know if I want to see him all the time, Greg, because would that take the allure away of what he's doing? Whereas it says champion, he's going to be that workhorse champion, even as a heel, even as a
Yep.
face, even as in between. So it almost, I hate saying, it's always about the man makes the title, yes, but also also might be the title makes the man work a different way. I don't know where I'm going. You know what? It's making sense. Like it, depending on the person, is how much I think we need to see them. Like Hogan back in the day, obviously
Mhm.
defended the title very rarely, but it was Hogan. So I think I agree with that. That either we need to break them up and give each, but then also make sure that's my big thing too. Production value. If we're gonna have a Raw roster, if we're gonna have a SmackDown, we need a different look. Give Raw its own
Yeah.
kind of unique look. Give SmackDown its own look. Like I loved AEW changing up their look finally, Greg. I think that was due. And I'm going to be
Oh yeah.
curious to see. Now, I could go the other way, and I think pay per views need their own look, Greg, but I guess we've gone away from that for a long time. But it'd be nice if Triple H did catch us for that nostalgia, like, and bring back the big look of pay per views to separate them from Raw and SmackDown as well. But I think that would be my improvement. Trying to, if we're gonna have a Raw roster, if we're gonna have a SmackDown. Now the fact that they really don't they're, guys kind of mingle back and forth, maybe until the draft, which sounds like it's gonna come back. But once that draft happens, then Raw guys stay on Raw and superstars is SmackDown stays on SmackDown. And I also would like to see a little change in appearance, with the production of Raw and SmackDown. Like I remember Raw was doing the little um, like facts about wrestlers to kind of differentiate some from SmackDown, which I
Mhm.
liked. Then SmackDown kind of took them. I'm like, well, now you've kind of taken away what Raw had, but that would be my big improvement. And I think I do agree with you. Damage control. Now, how about Has it hurt any of them? I think Bailey's been brought down a little bit by it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when you say
Bailey's
like
had to.
she's singles, I feel like she steps up. But in the
Yeah.
kind of now, sorry I interrupted, but you go ahead.
No, the whole purpose was to introduce EO and Dakota, and with the biggest stage possible at the SummerSlam,
Mhm.
and they did that. Everybody who didn't watch NXT got to see them, and it's been followed up for the rest of the year, and they've had plenty of airtime. They've had plenty of matches, and we've got to absorb them and get to know what they do and how they do it. And it's been great for those two as far as
Yeah,
getting them introduced, and now we
and
know who they are.
yeah,
But Bailey's had to water down her own performance to do that. So, and not overshadow
then
Dakota and Io.
which
So
is I
now
think
that
that's where she's at though in her career too. I think she
true.
wants to be that, which I still, but then it's almost a selfish way where I think she needs to be higher up as what like she still needs to carry some of the women's division for herself to build up other people. So it's a weird, these former NXT people are now the veterans, so to speak. They've always been, like Finn Balor was a 15-year veteran already, Greg, but now they're on the main roster for all these years, and now they are, trying to bring in the new wave. So it is an interesting kind of situation for Bailey where, that's all she talked about was trying to, do something with talent that wasn't being used as much. And now she got it.
Yeah, right.
So, um, yeah, so it should be interesting to kind of see what they do. How about the NXT thing of I'll go first. I think, you've brought it up. Going back to black and gold is the perfect way. What was that? I think the influx of main roster talent from time to time is good too. So I think
Hmm.
you keep on that, now. Do I think New Day probably needed the NXT titles, Greg? Probably not. But hey, they can mark that off. They're Triple Crown winners now. When FTR comes back, they can brag about that too. Um, but I do like the
Natalia. Now, I will say NXT 2.0 got her right. Coming down,
Yeah.
putting Cora Jade over, Nikita Lyons, Lash Legend. She had some run-ins with her. Roxanne, she had run-ins with her. So Natalia was used correctly there. But I think the crossover is important. And I also think it could go the other way, though. You can, Royal Rumble, you could Braun Breaker in there. Maybe have him get elimination or two. Don't just throw him in there for 30 seconds, get taken out by Brock, um, like Keith Lee a few years back, Greg. But, I think,
Yeah.
I think going back and forth is important, especially if we want to keep them kind of on the same level, which is probably ultimately what Triple H wants. So, other than that, I don't. I think that's my biggest thing, and you know, I I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think making takeovers feel special again would be something.
Mhm.
Having that unknown wrestler in the crowd always gives you that little pop. That maybe gets signed. Like they brought up this Dragon Lee guy, um, who is just the latest signing of NXT. I'll be interested to see what he could do. But those old school, those old takeovers where maybe you show Bailey sitting in the front row just watching, to watch. That kind of that little crossover I think is important as well. So I think takeovers, I don't know if you can give them a different look unless you start moving them around, but that would be something to watch as well, Craig. So those are my kind of two things for NXT. What about yourself?
Yeah, just continue to mix in veterans because they're going to make the young talent better. Just having young talent going at each other, nobody's getting better. Nobody, they're playing at their own level, and having guys who are vets, been in the game, and are operating on a much higher level is going to bring the other ones up. So that's very important. When I was watching that NXT before um, Deadline, and Pretty Deadly's in the ring and cutting their promo, and New Day come out, I popped for that because that was the last thing I expected to
Yeah.
see when they were cutting their "we're beating everybody" promo. And so everybody else in the audience had that same reaction. So that's the power of having the veterans come down and make these surprise appearances and these stays, whether it's going to be short term or long term. It makes a world of difference down there from uh, you know recognition standpoint, from um, now putting a team like Pretty Deadly onto the New Day's level. Um, in the ring, they're not there career wise or stature wise, whatever, but this is a rung on the ladder to getting there. So, and you're going to be able to do that with having the main roster guys that you may not have a place for on the main roster, a storyline for right now, and having them go down and mix it up with the NXT kids. Um, and that's how we're going to get Takeover back. Is once we get that perfect mix of veterans down on NXT and the new kids learning their craft and getting so much better. That's going to make everything ready for takeovers. And I think Triple H looks at it and he knows that it's not ready yet. It's not there yet to having that NXT black and gold energy that we used to have. It's building. It's getting there slowly but surely. And I think once he feels comfortable that now we got it, then we're going to see Takeover come back. But
Yep.
we're far from it right now.
Yeah.
You need that right mix of young talent, old talent, and talent that off the indies, and mixing in NXT UK was huge. You having all those guys come in because even though they're vets that we didn't really know about, and now we're getting our first taste of JD McDonough, Dragunov, Tyler Bate. If we weren't watching UK or those takeovers, that we're getting our first taste of those, and those guys mixing in with the NXT roster was a huge move. It was probably the move of the year last year, absolving NXT UK into NXT, and it's made a difference on television.
Yeah,
So
hopefully those guys like Gallus, we haven't seen them back yet, and Tyler Bate got written off after getting taken out by JD. McDonough must have his ducks in a row, Greg, because he's been on TV since and pretty deadly. But we're still waiting on Dragunov and Tyler Bate and Gallus as the main ones because they were pretty big right at that big what was it, the Worlds Collide pay-per-view. So
yeah,
hopefully we'll kind of get everybody back there, um, going as well. So how about this? Who was the breakout star of the year? You could go NXT, you can go main roster, you can go whichever direction you like, Craig. Who is your breakout star?
let's see. For breakout star, I chose. Let's see. I took copious notes here. Oh, actually, I chose Matt Riddle.
Mhm. Okay.
And like I mentioned a few times on our previous shows, that he made leaps and bounds from when he was first called up from NXT, and he was just the stoner dude in the back making bad promos and rolling up to every superstar in the back and having bad puns. We should get together and call our team blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And just that goofy clowny character to join it up with Randy Orton and
That changed everything.
blowing things up. And that established him as a legitimate star. And
Mhm.
he ended up having these banger matches. The first one's with Randy Orton. Uh, that first match, he beat Randy Orton, and that kind of lit the fire for Bro to start in the first place.
Mhm.
And then having great matches with Seth Rollins, with Lashley, all the guys at the top of the pecking order. That really put him out of that clown level, out of that goofy comedy character, into being a legit wrestler. He was still doing, the bro stuff, of course, but you got to stay true to the gimmick. But now we see him as a real contender, and having a banger of a match with Roman Reigns,
Mhm.
and everybody's been put in there with he has shined. The tag team match they have with the Usos for the championship, he's been killing it the whole year. He's like out with injury or taking care of his personal issues right now, but he's
Hopefully that gets
consistently
sorted
killed it.
out.
Right.
I think he was
Uh,
on a high trajectory. No total pun intended, but cut out some of that higher. Um, just do the weed. Just do the weed. Like, don't do any.
right.
Don't do the other drugs because that just gets you. That could totally turn his career around, Greg, if he doesn't get that right. I mean, look at Jeff Hardy. I mean, he had a lot of demons to battle. So,
Right. And you're talking about, tea being spilled. It seems like some of Riddle's ex-girlfriends are spilling tea on
what is
him
going on
about,
with that? Oh my gosh.
yeah. So, he has a lot of porn star ex-girlfriends. So maybe that's a good idea to get away from the porn stars, Matt.
That probably could be
Uh,
too.
there's a whole, you know, mentality right there. Some damage you're already bringing into your world when
Yeah.
you
Depends on
choose girlfriends from that line of work. So maybe just find a nice, good girl from, next door type instead of, going into that world and,
But
avoid some of that
sounds
trauma.
like
But
that sounds like that's his world. I mean, I
yeah,
don't know if he can settle down with a little Hoosier from the Midwest. But I mean, well, and the thing, and he's got the kid. He's got three kids or two kids. I think three.
yeah,
So hopefully, just for that sake as well, Greg. I mean, that's important stuff. And I almost went Riddle as well, but I thought he fell off so much. It kind of it didn't give me. Now I think I'll put him in some other category, but right now, here's my copious notes written on my hand, Greg. But or maybe I should make the rock and should have had it on my forearm. I'm gonna go Mandy Rose. I, it's really tough to not argue her, and I'm probably going to give her another award later on. But and I think the close second though is Austin Theory, just to break
Hmm.
out from the Vince McMahon shadow. We didn't know if he would do it, Greg. I mean, you know, but he's come through. Like you said, the new edge, the new look. Well, not newish beard and all that. I mean, he's almost looking like Orton, back in the day type deal. But
Yeah.
just really, cutting his teeth outside of that Vince McMahon shadow that was so cast upon. Ask Drew McIntyre back in the day about that, Greg, because who was Vince McMahon's chosen one way back in the day, and then Drew had to Drew had to get
Yep.
humbled, as they say. So I think Austin Theory ate his lumps as well. You could think back to the
Hmm.
WrestleMania match. Didn't he get beat by McAfee?
McAfee.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then McAfee lost to Vince or whatever. So, um, yeah, we've taken some lumps, but Mandy, I mean, she got to wrestle Satomura in a triple. Was that triple threat to, or was it? Yeah, because I think there was Davenport was in there as well. So
Right.
you got to wrestle that. I mean, just stepping up every and yes, it started earlier, Greg, but I mean, 300 some days as champion, and then to just get you know fired the way she was, like we still never saw anything official on that. So you have to eat that lump, and that I just think to take that in stride and see where else you can do. Obviously, she has options out there, I'm sure, but
Oh yeah.
I still think she carried the. I mean, her and Toxic Attraction, they were the attraction, Greg. I mean, there was times you'd rather watch them than Braun, I'm sure, for a lot
Oh,
of reasons.
absolutely.
But I thought in the ring as well, they carried their own. And, the promos and the Toxic Lounge and all, I mean, everything was working. So it's
Hmm.
really going to be interesting to see JC Jane and Dolan to see what they can do. I've seen a couple names thrown out to take over the helms, and I'll be interested to see if that actually works, Greg. But if anything, I think you just might call them up by themselves and let them run. I mean, they've already been up a couple times in some matches, so why not? So, but I think
Yeah.
I got to give to Mandy Rose with a close second being Austin Theory. I mean, hell, you could
Can't
probably
argue
give
with that at
McAfee.
all.
Could we give McAfee some love too? Because
Hey,
putting on a
yeah.
hell of a match, and then to be a commentator that revigorated Michael Cole, Greg. I mean, that's I kind of miss McAfee on SmackDown. Not gonna lie, you know,
No, I totally agree.
Wade
He's
Barrett
the
doesn't bring
man.
it as much. So once football season gets done, hopefully McAfee's back by. I mean, he has to be at WrestleMania. We
Oh,
need
absolutely.
McAfee's energy at WrestleMania, to really help push that over the edge. So I gotta give it to Mandy Rose though, with the just the way that she carried herself, and who's to say in 90 days we might hear a lot of podcast requests from her, Greg. But um, I
Oh
do
yeah.
want to hear. We need to
I
hear
think
her side of the story. That's the biggest thing.
oh, for sure. I think we've probably seen the last of her in a wrestling ring because the money she's making with her what fan page or whatever she calls it, and then I see a long running career for her in reality television if she
Yeah,
wants to go down
you
that
wonder if
road.
that she could do that.
She's already been part of Total Divas, and you know I can see her in the Big Brother house,
Yeah,
or
or
you
just
know,
fitness. I
yeah,
mean,
or
look how
like
much people ask for workout stuff from her all the time.
absolutely. And I don't see why she couldn't be. Well, I don't know if she's married or not. I don't think she is.
She is engaged to that Tino Sabatelli, he was on NXT early days
Oh, okay,
ish.
yeah, I remember him
He's a
with Rabbit
former
Moss.
NFL guy too. Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like,
yeah,
she could have been a bachelorette. You know,
yeah. Oh
she would have got a lot of eyeballs on her for the
yeah.
bachelorette. But
Oh, there's eyeballs on her even if she even being engaged. Just a ring. No, but
absolutely. But
I do
reality
wonder.
TV, I think, is calling for her.
Yeah, and kind of get her name like a little bit away from that, like, and maybe that gets her back in the. They always say proving your name. Sometimes that can help you, Greg, getting back in the good graces. So making a name for yourself outside, because then what can WWE do? They can take it right back and use your name
to do stuff, but
Right.
it'll be interesting to kind of see what she does there. So, all right, how about this? I got a match of the year, and it is Riddle. I'm gonna give Matt Riddle, Roman Reigns, that SmackDown episode, Greg.
hmm
Granted, did I ever think Riddle was gonna win? No. But man, they took us the whole ride. And I mean, some close seconds are Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell. I mean, I know it wasn't the greatest, but hell, you got to give Cody Rhodes for wrestling with that freaking bruise.
Oh
And
yeah.
nothing beats when he takes off that robe and the crowd is
Yep.
just like, the air went out of the room. It's like a balloon deflated. Like people could not believe that thing. If they did makeup to it, whatever, it still looked good. But I don't think that was makeup. I mean, I think that was legit bruising, and to carry that match, and of course Sheamus and Gunther at Clash of the Castle. I mean, they had
hmm
that. That was the opening match, I believe, and that just had
Yeah.
people on. I mean, that kind of turned the corner for Sheamus to be a face, which is crazy. With the Brawling Brutes. I mean, organic face turn, Greg, which is hard to do. You can do a heel turn because people could get tired of seeing you wrestle. I mean, ask Roman the first 5 years of his career. But it's hard to do sometimes an organic face turn without being so broadcast. You know what I'm like
Yep.
pushing it so hard. But those are my kind of three. But I got to that Riddle. I think that helped prove Riddle. But now he's got to prove outside the ring that he belongs back there, Greg. But the Riddle and Roman Reigns match. I mean, in hell, tonight we might see match of the year between Cena, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn. They might get the last, 20, 30 minutes to just do whatever. But I really think Riddle and Roman Reigns is my match of the year. Even though there was plenty to, I mean, the ring work this year, Greg, was ridiculous. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Um, mine. Well, first of all, I'm going to give out a couple honorable mentions.
yeah.
The Gunther and Ricochet match that just happened, I believe last week or a week before. That match was epic, and not because you thought that Ricochet was going to win, but I loved that the steam that you gave to Ricochet. Finally, give him his props. Let him show out on TV. Winning the cup was a big deal. You know what a big Ricochet fan I am, and seeing him finally get that time to shine the way he should for a guy who is as talented as he is has been long overdue. And I knew when Triple H came into power that's going to be a really good thing for Ricochet. Um, he deserves it. He was one of the hashtags. Justice for Ricochet. At the way he was, just treated like trash while Vince was in charge, and he's finally coming around. So, but that match against Gunther was 20 minutes of awesomeness, and Gunther laying those licks in, and you really felt sympathy for Ricochet, um, taking all these vicious hits and this beating, but still popping up and still coming back, and those hope spots meant a lot more every time he did. And then when he kicked out of the Gunther power bomb, and that popped us, it's like, oh, he has to actually win this thing. And taking us on that emotional ride. He eventually lost the match, but man, that match was awesome. So got to give them love for that.
And gets to kiss his
Um,
girlfriend on national TV last week, Greg. I mean, what a
I
couple
know,
weeks for him.
that was hilarious. I love that part too.
That's kind of what Ali
Um,
should be, right? Ali needs to be that type of character that gets beat down but comes back. And
right.
hopefully, I kind of want to see Ali do something bigger than what he's doing next year. But I'll be interested to see if he does do that. So,
Yeah. My match of the year, I actually get a tie because
okay.
as much as I thought about it, I really couldn't pick one that was better than the other. It's splitting hairs,
Yeah.
and both of those matches are the Clash at the Castle.
Good.
So, Sheamus and Gunther for the reasons that you already said. That match coming straight out the box, being the first one out, when they go back through Gorilla and go top that, and everybody's like, "Oh crap!" That was a match that Corey was saying it was like when he was getting hit that he could feel it. You could feel those punches and those chops coming through the screen, and just that's what we want as far as uh, a great hard hitting match with two guys who are built like houses.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So that match, and then Drew and Roman at the
Okay.
end. So bookended both ends of the card. That Drew Roman match was awesome for the same reasons. It was back and forth. It was hard hitting, and those two put on a perfect performance. And that last 5 minutes had you thinking, maybe Drew is going to pull it off. He's in England. He's, in, you know, home field advantage and everything. And they had a couple spots at the end where it looked real close to Drew winning. And we really expect Drew to win. It was the best chance for Roman to lose all year, I thought. And they led us that way to make it look like it for, a few minutes at the end. And it got me. So, when they get me, you get my respect because, you
I still think
usually
Drew
watch one
should
of
have
these
won.
matches.
I'll
I
still
agree.
argue it that he should have won. But
But yeah, I couldn't choose one or the other because both of them were just classic epic
yeah,
matches. That's how you want those type of matches to go. So
pretty
I'm
important
gonna
that you
give them a
both
tie for
go from
match of
the
the year.
Clash too. I think that was because we talked about that was Triple H's first pay-per-view kind of and to do it internationally, Greg. I mean, that's some pressure. So, but he delivered. So, let's see what do we got next. All right, OMG in the good way and OMG in the bad way. I mean, is there any doubt that it's all about Vince? Either way, I mean,
True.
um,
It's good and bad. That's the thing
I
about it.
think that for me is probably the biggest OMG moment either way. Just because we never thought we saw Vince give power away unless he was dead. Let's just admit it, Greg. And even then, he probably write in his will that he would control from the grave or something like that. He'd probably still, and but the bad way is the way he had to go. This nobody wants to go out on bad terms, Greg. And now time heals all wounds, as they always say. So in a few years, you could throw Vince into the Hall of Fame, and everyone will be saying, no chance in hell, and we probably forget about all this. But um, still, not it's like the CM Punk side of things, right? Write the story the right way, end the story the right way.
Right.
But so for me, it's probably OMG good way that Triple H takes over, Stephanie McMahon takes over,
hmm
Nick Khan takes over. We get rid of guys like John Laurinaitis. I mean, the other guys still there. There's still people there that Kevin Dunn's still there, but we're still going to get our thousands of camera cuts thanks to him. But then you throw in, um, uh, Shawn Michaels. You're throwing in William Regal, Road Dogg, if he's who knows what he's doing. X Pac. Maybe he's in charge of concessions or something. I don't know, Greg, but he's probably Triple H's coffee boy. But let's face it. Actually, that's probably Road Dogg. But anyway, so um, that's probably my OMG. I guess you could. I could also say though, WrestleMania, Kevin Owens, Stone Cold, OMG, that really happened. I don't know if it was good or bad. I could just say that really happened, Greg. And now the fact that we're even talking about Stone Cold possibly wrestling again, that makes me say OMG. So, um, yeah. And main event, like Kevin Owens got a freaking main event at WrestleMania. I mean, that's
Yeah.
OMG of the that might be OMG of his career. To think, even though like if my prediction comes true, Greg, he might have a bigger moment at this year's WrestleMania. So if the trajectory goes the way it should, so
I think those are my OMG moments of the years of the year. So, what is your OMG, Greg?
Well, same as yours. I got the Vince OMG in the bad way because of the way he went out.
Yeah.
OMG in a good way because it's finally put Triple H in power. So both ends of the stick there. Also, OMG in totally good way. Brock Lesnar coming down to the ring in a tractor
Yeah.
at
Yes.
what was and
SummerSlam.
tipping the SummerSlam, yeah, and tipping the whole ring with the tractor with Roman Reigns in it, and them having to finish a last man standing match
with that ring the way
with the
it was.
ring 5 feet in the air. um, that's something you don't see every day. And
And the dive off, did he started the match by diving off the tractor.
yeah, right.
So
And so as soon as you see that, it's like, okay, what is he doing? And he rams it into the ring, and so he's going to put the ring into the audience. And so I love that because you don't see it, and
probably never see it again.
what are they going to do? Yeah. So love that. My guy Brock Lesnar coming out and just ripping stuff up, and um, great finish to the match. The only way to kill Brock Lesnar is to bury him under 500 pounds worth of ringside debris.
Quick off the cuff question about Brock, Greg. The rumors are him and Gunther at WrestleMania. What do we think?
Ooh, give me that. Give me all of
Do we
that.
need the title on the line? That's where I get leery. Like,
Yeah, well, I'll say yes because I want, and this is going to be odd coming from me,
you
I
want
want
Brock winning the
Gunther to
IC
win.
title? Oh, Gunther to win.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
I want Gunther to win.
And show that
Because
he's truly the IC
yeah,
champion.
he is on that level. He is that guy.
And when somebody does beat him,
And
that's even bigger.
right. And so if anybody can give him a match to give him that star
Good rub.
power as Brock, that great Brock Lesnar rub, and he would be worthy of that. And you can imagine, the chop versus Suplex City, and just the
It
dive
might
that they
make
would
it might
have.
make Brock wrestle some too, like his old days, like
Right.
him and Kurt Angle. So that could be something to kind of watch as well. But I've seen that kind of make its way. It sounds like Gunther is trying to, like he's mentioned Brock's name before in an interview. And then, like we always said, Greg, if Brock's into it, it's
Yep.
good. But now, if Brock,
Exactly.
it could be like Brock and Moxley. Brock wasn't. I don't think he was into that at all. That idea, and that just suffered. So, we got to sell Brock on it. But I'd be curious to see if that actually does happen, because that's probably the biggest match Gunther can have at WrestleMania. And
Yeah.
what better way to, like we said, give those a newer vet, a newer guy the rub over that. So, sorry to interrupt, but that since I was thinking about Brock, we haven't really talked about that rumor out there, so I'm glad we could get that talked about. So, did you have OMG bad way?
No, just the way Vince went out was
Yeah,
OMG bad way because
yeah,
that's a stain on the company, and when you figure they're on major networks.
Mhm.
That's the kind of thing that runs those networks away because they don't
Yeah.
want to be attached to that type of
Oh,
negative publicity, and we don't want to have to find WWE on the L Ray network or the WB or
yeah.
what some little mom and pop channel. So it's best that he's stay away and keep that scandal to himself and let the process play out. You know, no, in its own time, and leave the company, in good hands. And so, yeah, that was the worst thing that's happened this year, in my opinion.
How about this? Who jumps ship to AEW? I think right now I think it's Mandy Rose. Why not? Just go out there and see what happens. I mean, Sasha's the big name as well, Greg. I don't know. Like I said, I think Sasha, I think we just kind of see sporadically. I think she's just going to do a little bit of everything. So, trying to think of who else. How about you? Got any names?
Well, Sasha's the one that comes to mind. And maybe not right away, near the end of the year with their last big pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah.
Maybe she goes to Japan and does her thing in Japan for a little bit. And then, at the last big pay-per-view,
Full gear, maybe.
Full Gear, something like that maybe that's when we see her. And that way, she goes off and disappears into Japan, but she's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And
Jumps back on
when she
national
pops up
TV.
when she pops up on AEW TV, she's going to have a pop that Paige had when she came out, and even bigger. So
Yeah.
she's the
I
name
think.
that comes to mind right away.
Trying to think of. Maybe this is a bad question because I really can't. It's hard to think of names. Because everybody seems kind of set, don't they? I mean, just trying to think of some names that are down on the lower end.
Yeah, I
Humberto,
mean,
Angel Garza.
yeah, I know we were big on KO being there this year, but that didn't happen. So,
And hell, we might see the other KO jump shark to WWE, Kenny Omega, but if his contract rumors are true, but we'll see if that happens. So, all right, well, that's that. Oops, wrong way. How about this? Bold predictions, Greg. I got my first one. I've been saying it for
okay.
thousands of days. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, WrestleMania Tag Team Champions. They will win the Tag Team Championship there. And then I want to kind of do a kind of quick fire with the championships, Greg, if you don't have any champions predictions. But that's my big one right there because it just seems like everything is tailor made for Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens to reunite, maybe after Elimination Chamber, and go in after the Usos, then make everything full circle. So, what is one of your bold predictions for the year?
One of mine is DIY reunites to win the tag team championships.
I like that too. I think that, I think that's needed for Gargano. Now, I guess Ciampa's he's kind of on the IR for a little bit. Do Loomis and Gargano win it together though? Think they get the tag team titles?
I don't feel it.
I don't feel it, but I mean,
it's yeah, I think it's DIY all the way. I mean, and doing it around the end of the year, I think makes a lot of sense, especially if Tommaso's still got a while to go before he's ready to return.
Yeah.
But we need to detach Loomis and Gargano and let them do their thing and, show why he's Johnny Wrestling. This handful of matches he's had so far, haven't really done much for him, and he's just been a mouthpiece for Loomis. So, okay, we know that's Loomis now, and we got that first introductory storyline out of the way. Now let's go and be Johnny Wrestling, show why he was the heartbeat of NXT Black and Gold to begin with. So, and by the time we're halfway through the year, Tommaso comes back, they reunite, they start killing it in the tag team division, and ends with some title belts. So I think that's getting DIY back together is going to go over crazy.
So before I do my rapid fire, who do you think will be a champion? How about this? Who do you think will be a first-time champion, Greg? No matter not, world heavyweight, whatever championship. Who do you think will get a title for the first time ever in the coming year? Because I think there's easily two names that come to my mind. I want to see who you got first, or do you want to hear my name since I've already had them in my brain?
First time ever. All right,
Like
I'll let you
winning the
go
U.S.
first.
title, winning the IC title. It could be any title. It could be even tag team titles.
Mhm.
I think it's Braun or Carmelo. I think getting to the main roster. I think one of them wins the U.S. or IC before the end of the year and gets that first title reign.
I'm going to go with Gable Stevenson
Yeah. Okay.
because I think we're going to see him this year, and once he finally gets in the ring,
Mhm.
that we're going to see why he was the NCAA champion.
Yeah.
Um, I think twice. I don't know how many years he won it, but I know at least
Was
one
it?
year,
I
and I
was gonna
think
say
it's
was it
multiple
might have
years.
been back to back and gold medal, right?
Right.
Or
And
a few gold medals.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he scored 3 points in 13 seconds
Yeah.
to win that gold medal.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, so when he debuts, he's going to have a Brock Lesnar-esque, beginning as far as undefeated streak, destroying everybody and getting that next big thing status put on him. So I'll go with him. And who else was I thinking? Ooh, I get put one on LA Knight.
Yeah. I could see
I
that.
think he's going to get one too. So, and then with that, I'm still, championing the talk show.
Hmm.
I still need that to happen, and you know, a Miz TV 2.0 with LA Knight happening.
Yeah.
I think that we need that.
How about this rapid fire? So we'll do. I have all the champions listed, Craig. I just want to hear a name who you think will be WWE Universal Champion at any point in the coming year. Just any name you think,
Ooh, fun. Okay.
and we'll go through
Any,
each championship.
all right. Any point of the year,
Yeah.
WWE champion. So, hmm, give me. I think end of the year, Bray Wyatt.
Okay. I'm going to go Cody. I think Cody's got to get it at like the speech he had last week, and just heading into WrestleMania season just makes a lot of sense. How about Raw Women's Champion? We have Bianca Belair right now. Looks like her and Alexa. I mean, that I'm going to go Alexa. I think she's going to get it off. I think she's turning this corner, Greg. Bianca will be fine. I mean, Bianca's had some strong WrestleMania, so I think you could put her in any WrestleMania spot. I'm going to go Alexa to get the title at some point this year.
And I'm going to go with my hot Asian girlfriend,
Mm.
Asuka,
Io? Oh,
as a heel.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's that
We've
time
seen
that
that her too.
we switch up her character. It's just way overdue, and get her back to the boss character she was in NXT. And I think the way to do it is to turn her heel. And you've already seen the little glimpses of it. She's lost the
No
face
makeup.
paint. She's um, and her demeanor is changing a little bit, little by little.
Isn't it crazy that we're turning both Asuka and Alexa after they were running buddy buddy with Bianca so long? But
Yeah,
interesting there.
but
So
they need it because they've
yeah,
become very
that's true.
stagnant and
Yes.
watered down versions of themselves. And I'd miss seeing Killer Asuka.
Yeah.
And I think maybe her Japanese version of Kana
Mhm.
getting introduced, just to see her playing an over the top heel, evil,
Kicking the
would
hell out of
be
people.
amazing.
Yeah.
I would need that. I want that in my life, and giving Asuka her fangs back.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my prediction. Heel Asuka will take the championship at some point this year.
SmackDown Women's Champion. I think that's a pretty easy name.
SmackDown Women's Champion.
Yep.
Mm,
We saw Liv Morgan get her first title ever last year, but I think there's a pretty blatant name, Greg, in
mm,
Raquel.
Raquel. Yeah.
I think she's starting to move up the Royal Rumble favor, and I
Mhm.
think going to WrestleMania season, she's going to be highly touted. I think she takes it off. I mean, you already have the stuff with Shayna happening. You got the broken arm happening, Greg. So
Sure.
Raquel's time to shine at WrestleMania. That's who I'm going to say will win it at some point. How about yourself?
All right. I'm gonna give it to my NXT girlfriend, Nikita Lyons.
Mm,
That after she comes up, she's gonna get the strap at some point later in the year.
okay. How about IC champion? So Intercontinental champion. That's why I think I'm going to go LA Knight. I think LA Knight's due for that at some point. That just seems perfect for him. Who are you going with?
I'm down with that. That sounds good to me. Let me see. I think Grayson Waller.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
It'd be cool to get his first run with it.
Especially if he won it like the first night he I like give him the title with the night he debuts. I think that could because he's got that cocky attitude anyway, so you can really
Right.
have him play into that. So, how about U.S. champion? This is where I think I either go Braun or Mello. I think I'm leaning more Braun. I think Braun gets it summertime ish, maybe going into SummerSlam. Actually, Craig. Um,
Hmm.
now I don't know who will be NXT champion. I guess we need to get into that, but we'll get NXT champions here in a second. But who do you going with? Maybe gets the U.S. title at some point this year.
Yeah, I'm going with Mello.
Okay,
Um,
kind of
he'd be
split hair.
perfect with that strap. He's got all the tools. He's a total package. Looks, the ring work, uh, on the mic, everything is perfect. Bring Trick with him because that's part of the whole thing to get the whole vibe across. Yeah, so I think he'd be perfect in that slot.
And we both mentioned our WWE Tag Team Champions. How about the women's side, Greg? I got two names: Candice, Indy.
Hmm,
I'm putting the
okay.
way back together. I think the way needs to come main roster. You already got Loomis, Gargano, and Candice kind of run around together, Greg. I think we're just due for Indy to be up there. And I'm going to go Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae. We'll get. It might not be a long run, but at this rate, Greg, the women's tag team titles have kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it to who would be their rivals then, your girls' Toxic Attraction.
Yeah.
You figure those two in a rivalry and passing the belts back, a couple times and getting them both some run. I think Toxic comes up and they get a few month reign with the belts.
And then if we went the NXT side, who we think will be NXT champion at some point this year? Like men's champion, sorry. This one I'm lost. Like because I
Hmm,
don't think Grayson Waller fits it.
no, no.
And there's maybe Dragunov.
That would be awesome. That would totally be awesome. Um,
I kind of am gonna lean towards him. It's not gonna be Apollo. I can tell you that right. I can tell you it's not gonna be. I'm gonna go Dragunov. I think that'll be my name, Greg. If you want to steal him too, you can take him too.
no, I love that pick. I'm a huge Dragunov fan, and he would be great there.
Kind of get
Um,
back in the limelight and see what he can do there. So
Absolutely. I will say um, McDonough
mm, yeah,
finds a way to get it. By hook or by crook, he's
yeah.
he's he's the master at that. He's going to find some sneaky way to get a title.
Well, him winning by referee stoppage could be something because we don't ever, you don't really see that often. So, how about the
Yeah,
women's side of things? Uh, does Cora Jade get it? I think that's where I'm leaning. I think she's going to get it at some point this year.
yeah. I mean, you pay off her, heel turn, and same thing. She's going to find some underhanded way to, backdoor the title strap. So I'll go with you on that one.
How about Wesley is our current NXT North American champion? Is it Dijak? Is that the big name probably that's going to get it at some point?
I'm going to go Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah.
I'm not
Are
a Wesley
him and
fan.
Stack's going to break up soon, do you think? Because I feel like it's just not working now, and or else you need somebody else in there, don't you?
Yeah,
The two of
you
them
just
just kind
can't
of
have
isn't meshing, I don't think, as well.
right. You can't just have a two-man mafia. You need more people.
Yeah.
So
we're not the two-man power trip of Triple H and Stone Cold back in the day, but
yeah, I think Tony D gets it at some point, and then he needs to add to the family or not have the family at all.
all right. NXT Tag Team Champions on the men's side. Any names out there you're feeling?
Well, let's see. New Day is going to have it, so I think Gallus could take a reign off of
actually who
New
I was
Day.
thinking. I think Gallus, when they come back, is going to be highly positioned. And then finally, the women's women's tag team champions. I got to look at the NXT roster to even kind of give an idea.
Yeah, if we take Toxic out of the mix, it doesn't leave much left. We already got Casey and Kaden as the champs, or Katana, whatever her name is.
We got Ivy and Tatum as a team, right? They kind of teamed up a little bit.
Right. And then we got Kiana and the girl she's running with.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of her name.
See, that's the problem. We don't have enough, reputable names down there for us to care about.
Well, somebody will win it. Who knows?
Hey, we'll fill this in with the bold prediction.
What about Elektra Lopez? You think she gets any sort of love down there, or do you think she's just kind of building her name to take over the reins from Zelina down the road?
Yeah, she's got to build up her name a little bit. So
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
What was your bold prediction, though?
I'm gonna throw the Iconics back in NXT.
Okay.
I don't know what they're doing, what the contract status is.
Have the baby, get some, baby time.
There we go. But
John Spears was quoted as saying he's not going back to AEW anytime soon, but I don't know if that just means he's just taking time off for baby duty or what.
Yeah. Who said that?
Sean Spears, which is her husband. One of them. Casey and Sean Spears are married. They're having the kids soon. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of what was their names in. What was it? I can't remember their names now in WWE, but Jessica was the other one. She's the darker hair, a little bit bigger, taller. So, anyways, all right. Did you have any other
Iconics back in NXT? So
yeah, I think that would work.
Anybody can pull that off.
Fit.
Yeah, Triple H could pull that off. So if their contracts are flexible, put them back down there and they could run the tag team division down there.
What was your other bold prediction for the year, Greg? Did you have another one?
Yes, I have one AEW star will debut at Raw after WrestleMania.
Okay.
And
who is it?
The reason is that NXT or AEW is 3 years old, and from what we heard initially, that most of them signed 3-year contracts. So we figure those contracts would end or beginning of this year, and not everybody's going to re-sign. Not everybody's happy. So I think that Triple H is going to swoop in and scoop up at least one big name off of those guys that don't sign a new contract, and even if they have non-competes 3 months after the beginning of the year, WrestleMania is April 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever it is, that's over 90 days. and we can have that debut on Raw after WrestleMania. So I think that's we get one AEW star, one we know very well on Raw after WrestleMania. And so that being said, who is it? I think it could be possibly a Wardlow.
Yeah.
I know they're big on Wardlow.
Just cut his hair though. Did you see that
That's
on
true.
Rampage? Was
It's
that on
time.
Rampage? On Dynamite? They were taking the man bun. Maybe he's getting a new look.
Yep. I think he's my favorite. I think we can see Brian Cage
Oh yeah.
in WWE for sure.
Mhm.
Or Lance Archer.
Yeah.
Because Lance Archer has come out pretty disgruntled about not being used too. So I'll give you those three names off the top of my head.
I think my other bold prediction will be John Cena will wrestle at WrestleMania. I don't know if that's that bold, but it is. I don't know if I'm going to go the Stone Cold route. A lot of people are pushing for Stone Cold versus John Cena, Greg. Any interest in that? I get it, but I feel like it's, 10, 15 years too late?
Right.
Like, if you have it at Cena in his heyday and Austin kind of not at his, tail end. I mean, this is Austin 20 years later. This is, maybe mid 2000s WrestleMania match. I could get behind.
Yeah, Dr. Thugonomics versus the Rattlesnake.
Or even Cena, kind of when he was coming, like U.S. title coming into his own type deal.
Sure.
But I don't, but I think it's Cena in theory. I gotta have that at WrestleMania. Just makes too much sense. Now, granted, do you give Austin Theory the rub after last year? Possibly, but so I think my bold prediction will be Cena will wrestle at WrestleMania. I've even heard Drew McIntyre trying to vouch to wrestle Cena, so that's why I think it could happen. I think I'll go the other route. I think Stone Cold does not wrestle at WrestleMania, but show up and drop a stunner. Sure, he can do that. That'll be my not wrestle, but just drop a stunner on. Well, probably. Sorry, Greg. It'll probably be your guy, LA Knight. I mean, doesn't that just seems because you could have LA Knight, yapping away, and then Stone comes out and lays out a stunner and pours the beer on him. And
Hey, as many eyes on LA Knight as
True.
possible. I'm all for it because at this time next year, he's going to be one of the biggest stars in the company. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah. Any other bold predictions you got out there?
I think that's the ones I have for right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any more interesting ones.
Naomi back on the main roster. Is that our bold prediction by us? Or that should just happen.
Yeah, it should. Naomi in the bloodline. I think that's
Naomi in the bloodline. Yes.
We've been forecasting it. I think it's still a bold prediction because nobody's talking about Naomi with. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do okay. So we'll do a quick kind of get our last two commercial breaks out of the way, and then we'll give out our hardware for our best of the best of Ucey of the Uceyest, and wrap up the show. And you guys can enjoy your New Year's Eve, the underrated Eve of Eves, if there was a cool category. So.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSports1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
All righty, Greg. Categories for best of the best. Tag team of the year. This can go across the board. Who is your tag team of the year?
All right. Tag team of the year. I took RK Bro. Just for as white hot as they got at the end of last year into this year, all the way up until the unification match with the Usos, where unfortunately Randy he was already hurt, but that put him on the shelf for good. RK Bro was the thing, even more so than the Bloodline. We tuned in for RK Bro, and it was awesome. Everything they did was perfect. The backstage stuff, the ring stuff, everything was perfect. It's hard not to give it to the Usos, given the body of work, the whole Bloodline storyline. But as far as just tag team work, I have to give it to RK Bro.
Yeah, I can't argue that actually. An honorable mention, Greg. I know they lost a lot. Can we give some love to Alpha Academy? Do you think they deserve
I
any
thought
love?
about that.
I mean, it's like the Seth Rollins thing. Now, granted, I think I'm looking back at some of their work. I mean, the Academic Bowl. They had the the graduations.
Yep.
I mean, and then they still deliver though when it comes to a tag team match. So, and I mean, the fact that it kind of clicked for them, and were they tag team champions, or was that last year? I feel like they were champions at some point, right?
I think they were.
Okay.
Not for
But
long, but
not for long, no. But RK Bro is my I got to give to the Usos. I mean, to hit historic territory, Greg, it's hard for me not to give it to them. Taking over New Day's mantle. But RK Bro, for the fact that they gelled together and it clicked as well as it did, it probably had no business clicking as well as it did. I mean,
Exactly.
it's hard. It's like 1A, 1B. I mean, you can't go. But I mean, I got to give some love. I mean, and then also if we think about the women's side, I mean, we got to give love to Toxic Attraction, right? I mean, they show up on the main roster, put up matches. They can't, they just delivered every time they were in the ring, promo wise, ring work wise. I mean, cinematic wise. I mean, and those, the stuff with Alba Fire. So,
Yep.
I got to give them some love too. So, yeah, I think I give them. Finally, how about this? Female superstar of the year, Greg. I think you already can guess who I'm going with, but I will give you the honors first to see where your head is at.
All right. Well, I look for every reason not to give male superstar to Roman Reigns. And for the reason of when you look at it as far as talk to it, let me start over. There was a interview done with a former WWE writer during the Attitude Era. And when Vince would have his creative meetings for this week of Raw, every meeting started off with when Austin was at his peak of his powers, and they were doing the Austin McMahon thing, and it was killing. The beginning of the creative meetings, what we got for Austin. So everybody rolls out their best ideas. They go out with, pick the best one and lather, rinse, repeat for the next week and the next week and the next week. What do you got for Austin? What do you got for Austin? So all the power of the creative department is being put into Austin. And then once we're happy with Austin, then it filters down to what do you got for Rock? What do you got for Taker? What do you got for XYZ all the way till you get to the bottom of the roster. And so knowing that and that the Bloodline has been a good 2-year story. And for a year and a half, it was a Vince control story. So when those creative meetings start, it's the same thing. What have we got for Bloodline? What have we got for Roman? What have we got for Bloodline? And so all the creative energy of the writing department is going to be thrown into the Bloodline first. So all the resources being put into them. It's been working great. Not bagging on them for it, but just because knowing that that's how the mind of Vince works, and that's all the energy and power that's been put into the Bloodline storyline. That's why I wanted to go away and try to find somebody to credit it to for male wrestler of the year that's not Roman Reigns.
Oh, we were doing female first. Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to do
female first?
Yeah, do you want to do female first? After all that,
female.
Sorry, I meant to tell. I'm like, oh no, he's going on me. I probably should stop him. I'm like, you gotta give unless we want to do female last, we could do the female. The male can come first because you just talked all that stuff. We'll do male first because you just gave us all that talk about. Because now I'm curious. I'm on the edge of my seat, Greg, with your name. So we'll do male first. The male will come first.
All right. So, with all that being said, I have to still give it to Roman Reigns.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I gave it a big bill, and then I swerved it. And it's because that he, all the energy's been put on him, but he's delivered over and over and over against the top stars, against Drew, against Brock, against Riddle, against everybody, KO, against everybody. And that Bloodline story is just getting juicier and juicier and juicier by the week. Like I said, year and a half of that's been Vince. The last 6 months it's been Triple H, and it's all been just building and building and building. And we still haven't got to the top of the mountain with the whole Bloodline story. And Roman has came through with his matches. His promo work has been amazing. Can't say enough about him from a promo standpoint, because there was the days as a babyface and coming out of the Shield where he couldn't cut a promo to save his life, and the other guys were giving him crap for it in the ring. John Cena giving them one epic line about that. But his promo game, his next level, he is really crested the mountain on that, and he is when he comes out, everybody's hanging on every word that he says. So after all that, the character work, the promos, the ring the matches, everything as a whole, you can't not say Roman Reigns rocking your Bloodline shirt.
There it is. Look at that. With the tag still on.
From our gotta show it off. So yeah, I got it, and it's awesome.
Goodness. I got a few names right on my brain, Greg, and I forgot to mention it in Breakout Star. How in the world did we not put Sami Zayn in Breakout Star with all the damn work he put in? I mean, the Jackass match. So I'm giving Sami Zayn my fourth place finish, Greg, as male superstar. I'm probably tied with Kevin Owens because talk about putting the work in on his side of things. Kevin Owens deserves a lot of credit. But Greg, and I'm giving Braun Breaker probably second. Roman is on another level. I'm going to give Braun Breaker for, he had to carry NXT through some changes, and he still, carried it steady. Loses the title to Dolph Ziggler at the beginning of the year, and then gets it back on a random Raw. But Braun Breaker, it's got to be Seth freaking Rollins, though. And if Cody Rhodes works the whole year, Greg, it's probably actually Cody, but it's got to be Seth Rollins. Everything Seth did this year
meant something. He, like we said, it was 900 days before he won a title, like any title. That's a
Right.
long, or maybe, well, singles title. Sorry, I, I swear the tag team title was in there somewhere with Jason Jordan, but so maybe a singles title. But either way, to go that long, I mean, that's 3 years without a title reign. But to stay on the top where he was with all the work, with the Cody Rhodes. I mean, how many superstars would be trusted to have
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes come back and have we thought it'd be what a 10 minute match, just kind of get I mean, that was what 20 some minutes I think it was, or 15-20 minute balls to the wall match, and then to come
Yeah.
back and do it at Hell in a Cell. So, and then to carry Austin Theory and Lashley through stuff. I mean, and still, and then like Vince Russo said, bro, he's coming out of women's clothing. Hell, I'm giving all the credit to come out with some of these freaking outfits. Like, he's probably laughing his way to the bank when he
Oh, yeah.
well, after he pays off the bank for the outfits. But I've got to get to Seth Rollins. I just think everything was working for him this year. I mean, he's that gatekeeper, like Ciampa back in NXT, Greg. Now that's
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, and I mean, and we forget he had the Rumble match with Roman. That was on par with any match. Coming out to the Shield. I think that gets lost
Right.
in it. There was a damn good match too out of it. So I
Right. And
gotta
he
get
won that match.
yes, but he didn't. Yeah, and didn't win the title though. So yeah, that's crazy. I mean, he had the most losses of anybody on the roster, Greg, apparently this year. But that goes to show how much he worked, I think, as well. So I will give it to Seth with Braun Breaker, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn as my rounding out. Because I think they deserve some flowers for all they did as well. Now, how about female side of things? I will go with the attraction, Mandy Rose. I think Bianca came into her own as well, Greg, and there's no doubt Bianca probably should be up there, but Mandy Rose carried, I mean, she probably carried a little bit higher than Braun. Actually, the whole brand of NXT. She lived and breathed that. And it does suck to see her get, escorted out the building, as it were. No fanfare. But obviously, I see why. So, I
Yeah.
talk out both sides of my mouth when it came to that, Greg, but sometimes we got to ride the fence on things on that. So, I'm giving to Mandy Rose with Bianca Belair, worthy honorable mention as well. So, finally, who is your female superstar of the year? And what is your long monologue about this?
I have to agree with you, really. You look at Bianca, and her year started off great with the uh, run-ins with Becky Lynch all the way up to WrestleMania, a banger of a WrestleMania match with Becky where she won her title back, and then Becky gets injured, and there goes that momentum.
Yeah.
Here comes Bailey, and then Bailey with Dakota and Io has kind of took things down and took a lot of the flavor out of
Yeah.
how hot Bianca was, and it kind of sunk her down a bit. And the women's championship is kind of gone by the wayside on Raw, and that's why I didn't give her female of the year. Um, just that second half of the year, being involved with all the tag team stuff, being involved with um, Asuka and Alexa, knowing they're not, a
They don't need
faction. They're
Bianca.
just kind of three random people that are thrown together.
Yeah.
That took some of the shine off of her, and she's kind of become, the women on Raw as a whole have become kind of secondary if you're not named Bianca or Bailey, and the whole division's kind of been cast aside a little bit. So Mandy Rose, on the other hand, has defined the women's in NXT. She's been at the top. Everything she's done since she's come down from the main roster has been awesome. Um,
What
she's
she needed.
shown exactly. She's shown she's probably better than I thought she was.
Mhm.
Um, Coming down and just how she changed her look, changed her um, promos, changed the way she works in the ring, and found two people to run with that makes sense. That they look like a legitimate threesome of a team, and they work like that. They work off each other. They're perfect together. Uh, so everything Manny did, being the champ from bell to bell, beginning of the year into the end of the year, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And her matches were on point. So I give her credit because I didn't think she was as good as she was once she got down to NXT, and she proved me wrong. So
She did.
I have to give it to her too.
And I mean, because the last stint we had was Otis with her, and then I think some stuff
Right.
with Dana Brooke maybe, but that was our kind of last memory. And take a chance and you go dark. I mean, she doesn't look like somebody who'd be dark haired and all that, and kind of making the gothy look almost not looking goth type deal. So I think
Yeah.
just like with Bailey, when Bailey cut her hair, Greg cut the Bailey buddies. I mean, it was just a whole new. That almost probably saved Bailey in a way. I probably this saved it saved Mandy Rose for the time being, unfortunately. Then some other stuff happened. Well, that is
Yeah.
the
So
end of the show, Greg. Happy New Year's. We will be back at it. I guess we'll talk off air and kind of figure out the schedule. I was looking at that first Sunday, and I'll let you know what's happening there. But what kind of what New Year's traditions do you do? Do you go over? Do you have family in town or anything?
no, I usually like try to travel somewhere
Okay.
and toast the new year in a different location.
Okay.
Um,
You doing that tomorrow
I've
night?
it may be too soon, but
Okay.
I may best may be able to do I may be able to do is just to drive to a different city and do it in a different city in the same
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Even though North and South Carolina, where I am in Charlotte, is South Carolina is right across the border, so I may still be able to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe something like that. But I usually like to toast in a new location.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, we have Mom Ajami's birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday to my mom, New Year's Eve baby.
Nice.
We will have pizza. There's 14 of us going to get pizza at noon, and then I'm going to go to a friend's house, hang out with their kids and them, and toast in the year of that. So nothing too outlandish, Greg. We're kind of past that point, but of course I do have my death by pizza, so who can't get enough of pizza. But so happy birthday
Nice.
to the lovely woman who gave birth to this amazing podcaster here, and awesome mom all around. I've always heard from other people if they didn't have a mom, Greg, they would want my mom as their mom. So I don't know if you
Nice.
can have any higher compliment than that.
Hey,
So
right.
Mom Ajmi, Mrs. Ajmi, as she's called by many of people, um, is the birthday gal tomorrow, and we'll get to celebrate her day of birth tomorrow. And
Happy
always a
birthday,
good time.
Mom.
I know. We always want to do a big birthday bash for her, but it's so hard sometimes on New Year's Eve, just at night. People have plans, but now that a lot of us are not doing as much, we might have to all come together for the birthdays of my mom. So, yeah. And I doubt if she's watching this, but hey, I'll make her watch this last few minutes just so that I show that we gave her a toast. Toast to Mom Acme. So,
Cheers.
enjoy the new year, and we'll come back at it here when we can, because it's coming up sooner rather than later. But WrestleMania season, we got NXT stuff happening. We have AEW happening. I mean, this year's going to be really interesting to watch with all like we said, contracts expiring and faces showing up and whatnot. So,
Enjoy the new year. Enjoy the playoffs. As they get started for the. There you go. We the ones, the twos,
Yeet.
the threes. We're all of it. Can't. Nothing beats when Sami Zayn makes somebody break character. So
Oh man,
enjoy
no
the
kidding.
day and enjoy tonight. I think tonight's gonna be a lot of fun. We got Gunther and Sheamus scheduled, right? I believe.
Yes, we do.
And we have Rhonda and
Raquel.
Raquel scheduled. And then we have, of course, the big tag team match. John Cena, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns going at it, Greg. Who had that as our bingo card last match of the year for WWE? So, but
Hey, let's go get it.
that's good.
And a quick shout out to the Elite and
Doobie?
Death Triangle for a banger of a match the
Oh.
other night. So holy
Yes.
crap.
We'll get back. Yeah, we'll get back to all of our full official recap shows here in the new future. So, talk to you guys soon and enjoy the weekend. Be safe, have fun, and party hard.